Joining us once again here on PHNX Cardinals, host of the Mina Kimes podcast featuring Lenny, ESPN NFL analyst Mina Kimes, back on the program. And Mina, it's funny with this team. Like 1 week they're getting housed by Cliff Kingsbury and you want to condemn them, which we have. And then the next week they're upsetting San Fran on the road and suddenly are 2-0 in a division with wins over McVay and Shanahan. Like who are the Cardinals to you right now after, 5 weeks of play?
They're feisty. I think that's the right way to characterize them. They're obviously not a juggernaut, but I think you can confidently say they're past the rebuilding phase, right? Last year. And this is what teams that are right past that phase tend to look like. It's going to be up and down. There's going to be games where the offense looks good. The point of the season, obviously, I think you want to contend for the division, right? Because of the parity and the lack of success other teams are having. But you really want to feel like you're building towards something. And I've felt that way about the Cardinals all year. I never lost hope, guys. So it was good to see this win over San Francisco for a litany of reasons that we can get into.
5 weeks into this, and we do appreciate you holding the line for the Arizona Cardinals 5 weeks into it. We know from personal experience, it's not exactly the easiest thing, but wins like Sunday, it's something we hope we see more of going forward. But when you look at Sunday, one of the few, I guess, negative spots was Marvin Harrison Jr. He did come up with the huge catch on 4th and 5. Just, a prayer from Kyler Murray. He comes down with, and it's a huge opportunity to extend that drive. You got Marv, though, 2 catches on 7 targets. He's had an uneven kind of start to his career. How do you evaluate the 4th overall pick?
It's frustrating to me because it feels right now like the Cardinals offense is what we thought, a lot of what we saw last year, right, in terms of the running game, the multiple tight ends, a lot of the passing concepts. And then Harrison Jr. is just tacked onto it rather than being fully integrated into it. There's way too many low percentage throws to him. I mean, I love the fact that Kyler's willing to throw, already has that trust in him, and it has been rewarded, obviously, in some big games, including a couple of weeks ago. But part of the reason why I personally liked Marvin Harrison Jr. so much as a prospect was he's a complete receiver. He can run the entire route tree. He can win at all 3 levels. And it feels like right now, the way he's being deployed in Drew Petzing's offense is too limited. It's too just saying, hey, we're going to do our thing. And then every now and then take a shot to Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's, to me, not the best way to use him.
Just to kind of follow up on that, you can tell when he's running routes right now that there's some uncertainty. Like there was a moment in the game where Kyler Murray, they had to take a timeout. Marv wasn't lined up correctly. And again, he didn't have a preseason with K1, right? They punted on the preseason, but everything that was touted dating back to the spring, if you remember, is Marv did not do an off season for the draft. It was preparation for the NFL season. He and his dad worked hand in hand. Like, we're going to get ready for the season to avoid kind of those rookie mental mistakes, hitting that rookie wall, where it feels like right now it's, not apples to oranges with Malik Neighbors, but they clearly, their offense in New York runs through Malik Neighbors outside of this week notwithstanding. Whereas to your point, like with Marvin Harrison Jr., like this painting is not fully done yet. Like it really feels like they're trying to figure this out on the fly with, oh, by the way, trying to win games.
Yeah, it's odd because the thing that I also thought about him watching in college was he was just so pro ready. He looked like an NFL player out there playing with college kids, even when he was being doubled, as he so often was. And I think maybe I took it for granted. Like, okay, well, he was so polished and so ready, and obviously his lineage is what it is. You're going to go to the NFL and there's not going to be any challenge, and kind of underestimate that, right? Like, we think of the wide receiver position as being one where players always make an immediate impact, but that's not in the case. Even if, obviously the 2 LSU receivers have been phenomenal early on. Just because Harrison Jr. isn't producing at the same level of them early on doesn't mean he won't. And perhaps there was a little bit more of an onboarding period than people like myself assumed. I'm still a believer in him because of his talent. I do, again, I hear you guys on what you're seeing from him on the field. I do, however, still take a little bit of issue with how he's being deployed. I think Petzing needs to find a way. It's not just about Kyler Murray, like trusting him in those moments. It's also about finding ways to use him a little bit differently. And I'm very curious to see how they approach that going forward.
Let's get into the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray, with the win on Sunday. Wins there against the Niners. Wins off the field, his partnership with the Call of Duty. Shout out trolls out there. As he said, he got the bag. You know, he's doing his own YouTube channel. Mina, I don't know if you've seen this. He did a little Q&A. There's some fantastic answers there. One was about something that you love to celebrate, him embracing his Korean heritage. What are you seeing from the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray? Statistically, looking pretty good. 68% completion percentage, 972 yards, 7 touchdowns, only 2 picks, that huge 50-yard rushing score. What do you like from K1?
Yeah, I do wonder if he would have rolled out that Call of Duty video if they hadn't won. I loved it. I thought it was so funny. I have a friend who works for them, and a few years ago, I was like, "Why don't you guys do a partnership with Kyler? It'd be so funny." And I wonder if he was like a little bit tentative about doing that until you have some success and you're a little bit more comfortable making fun of course, the often mocked homework clause. I mean, he's not directly addressing that, but whatever. The confidence is a thing that jumps out. It was actually, by the way, we previewed this game on my show. We do preview every game every week. And when we talked about this one, I had the Cardinals as for my key. And I said, I really want to see Kyler as a runner because it's actually been frustrating to me. I feel like he looks as explosive, agile as ever, but I felt like they were almost holding back. So to see him finally like deployed that way and really, I mean, God, that run was so funny too. The way he was celebrating so early in it, it opens up so much in the offense, right? When they can run zone read like that, and it makes everything a little bit easier. It's no coincidence also that I think like James Conner finally gets it going. The run game has been frustrating, so I love what I'm seeing from on the ground. Through the air, it has been a little bit up and down. I won't say he's been perfect, obviously. I think this last game was kind of a microcosm for that. Like there were some really, really good throws, downfield, but there were also some misses and some mistakes. So I feel like he's playing well, but I feel like he could play better moving forward. And I think it's important to remember it's still really early in the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if his best football is ahead of him. Yeah,
to stay on that subject, I mean, his passing yardage is down for his career. He's on pace for like 3,200 yards, yet his rushing yards are up. He's on pace for, I think, just over 900 yards. And you look at what Baltimore has done in MVP seasons for Lamar Jackson. And again, you can't compare the body type, but you also can emphasize that, hey, when Lamar runs, right, they win. And it plays off the passing game. I do think there's a hesitancy with Drew Petzing and company to say, like, well, we got to get Kyler through a 17-game season. We're not going to make him susceptible to some of these hits. But at the same time, they need him to run to be able to perform. Like you saw that be an element on Sunday against San Francisco, and they were not ready for that. And it subsequently led to the Cardinals having a pretty efficient offensive day at times.
Well, I think we saw the offense that we thought we would see coming off of last year, right? Their ability to basically dictate to San Francisco with what they were doing on the ground and also their use of personnel to get them into their base defense and then hit them over the top and get the matchups they wanted, not just with the tight ends, but generally off of that under center play action pass, which should be the foundation of this offense. This should be maybe not, well, Baltimore doesn't really they don't do as much under center play action, but this should be a top 3 under center play action team in the NFL. Kyler is comfortable doing that. He throws the ball well off of that. And they have, tight ends who are a legitimate threat to block and actually run routes. Like they should be excellent at that every week. And I think, Kyler's rushing ability only adds to the run action, which just makes him so much harder to defend. And I think about also just kind of the way defenses are built now. There aren't a lot of defenses around the league that really match up well with that sort of offense right now. So if I'm Arizona, I lean into it as hard as possible. But again, you really need, Michael Wilson was fantastic in this one. If you're going to put 2 tight ends on the field, you really need your 2 wide receivers and Harrison Jr. being one of them to be, much more productive than he's been.
We had a conversation yesterday, Johnny and I, about James Conner, and very quiet first half, just 16 yards, and then he comes out in the second half and it's 70 yards, instrumental in their comeback. The analytics show that he had 9 missed tackles in that game. He's just been playing at a high level, 29 years old. It was, as you've pointed out, it's so important for that run game for this offense to go. What are your thoughts on James Conner? Like Johnny we were talking yesterday, like, could he be a guy that they bring back? Like we all saw Trey Benson go 66th overall, but he was an afterthought on Sunday. We haven't seen Trey Benson. What do you think about James Conner and the Cardinals at this point?
You mentioned Lamar, and there is a little bit of a Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson dynamic stylistically, right? The types of runs you do, that sort of thunder lightning with him and Murray. I think that's the type of having that type of back in conjunction with Kyler Murray because of the sort of conflict, the different types of conflicts, they pose for different defenders is really a good combination. I love James Conner. Obviously we all know, with running backs, what it is in terms of age and production, but honestly, he looks as strong and violent as ever. So I think that would be great for them to keep him around. And it was just so good to see him finally kind of break through yesterday because it's been the run game has actually been maybe more disappointing even than the unevenness of the passing attack early on for me. And I think that, again, when everything's firing on all cylinders, this is a good run blocking offensive line. You got good tight ends who can block. You got skill players who can block as well, by the way. So he should be as productive as he was against San Francisco versus a lot of defenses, including, by the way, certainly every defense in the division, because all the defenses in this division are not great against the run.
Let's stick there. Final question. We'll get you out of here on this, Mina. Big matchup in the NFC West this upcoming Thursday. How do you size up this division? It's down from years prior. I don't think anybody can dispute that. Is this a division at the end of the year that could be won with 10, 11 games? And like right now, the two juggernauts coming into the season are firmly in the basement. The Cardinals have 2 wins over both LA and San Francisco.
Yeah, LA, obviously, with the injury situation, it's hard to be super optimistic there. And then with San Francisco, it's been interesting because, they weren't that injured against you guys, right? I mean, I know I was joking about this. 31 fan bases are like, oh, boo-hoo, you don't have Christian McCaffrey. You still have a freaking all-star team out there on offense. There's some injuries on defense and some missing players. But I think separate from that, the team is, you really are starting to see the toll of playing in all those Super Bowls, not just the injuries, but talent walking out the door. And they have lost players, of course, this season. They do seem more vulnerable than they have in years past. I don't think there's a dominant team in this division. Seattle's offense is very good, but they're struggling to protect Geno Smith. And then that defense has a lot of holes and injuries as well. The defense, I think, was going to really struggle to stop. If the Cardinals offense is like what we've been describing, with the tight ends, the run game, the play action pass, Seahawks defense does not match up well with them either. And sometimes, that when you have parity like that, guys, football is about matchups, right? And this is why I wouldn't say super optimistic about the Cardinals, but I was intrigued by them coming into this year because they are a very uniquely built team, and thus they match up. A lot of defenses around this league just don't match up well with them.
I love I'm shameless as far as the Brock Purdy without Christian McCaffrey memes out there. I mean, it's like him at a Subway worker or something like that. It's fantastic. But
hey, don't knock Subway.
Well, I'm not.
Brock Purdy also, come on, Gilbert, Arizona, guys. We gotta defend our guy.
Shout out Perry High School, no doubt about it. It's just unfortunately he plays for the wrong team. I mean, I guess we'll get you out on this, the Jekyll and Hyde of this team, and you kind of touched on it just before there as far as the matchups. Yeah. But I mean, you get blown out by Washington, who continues their hot streak out of the gates here, and then you beat San Francisco at home. You're going to historic Lambeau Field. Like, what's your finger on the pulse of this team?
I think that because the offense is unique, they can match up well with any defense if Kyler Murray is playing well and if they can run the ball. Defensively, I'm still pretty skeptical. I'm excited to see Robinson. I saw he was activated, I think. It was on me. They've just been getting nothing from that defensive line. The second level, and actually the secondary has been kind of fun, but I just don't think this defensive line is particularly great. But again, because of that offense, which they're in their ability to play ball control, big boy football, I think they can beat anyone. But again, the quarterback has to be playing well.
The Mina Kimes Show, available wherever you get your podcasts right now. Check her out, ESPN NFL analyst. Mina, so gracious with your time. Hope to talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.